Kickstarter is not typically the first place you would think to go to purchase a new keyboard. The Chinese peripheral manufacturer Drevo saw this as an opportunity to create a community-sponsored project, the BladeMaster. This new keyboard was so popular that it met its $20,000 goal in just one day. It then went on to raise an additional $400,000, making it easily the most backed keyboard ever on Kickstarter. So what makes this keyboard so good that people are literally willing to throw money at their computer screens to get one? The BladeMaster Tournament Edition is a wired 10-keyless RGB mechanical keyboard that was released in August at a retail price of $89. And it's important to note that you can not only find it on Kickstarter, but most online retailers as well. It competes with the likes of the Corsair K65, Razer Black Widow X Tournament Edition, and Logitech G Pro 87. However, all of those carry a hefty MSRP of $130, and I don't think offer as much functionality. In their own words, the BladeMaster was designed to give the impression of power and elegance, and I think it captures that pretty well. It has a very aggressive stance, but if you were to turn all the RGB lighting off, it wouldn't look entirely out of place in a professional office setting. The all-aluminum backplate increases the overall weight and stability of the device, and I think also increases the perceived value. The feature list for the BladeMaster is definitely long, but let's start with the most prominent one first, and that is the Genius knob. It's an additional interface to complement mouse actions or keystrokes. It turns forward or backward and can be pressed in. You may have seen something similar to this in the Logitech Craft, however, this is a more simplified integration. The RGB lighting is probably the next most noticeable feature. As you can see, it has individually addressable RGB lighting on each key. The perimeter lighting has this nice diffused soft glow to it. You don't get the harsh individual LED shining through. And the LED lighting actually extends along the back and even in between the knob and the back of the keyboard. That little segment there, even smaller than a centimeter, they decided it was important to make sure that was illuminated too. It's a great little detail that I think again does a number to increase the perceived value of the device. It is a fully mechanical keyboard that features Gatoron KS9 switches, and it is available in blue, black, brown, and like this example here, red. If the standard QWERTY layout is not sufficient for you, if you're someone who's an avid typist, you've likely seen other keyboard configurations out there, this also supports those as well, such as the Dvorak, Comac, and Minimac. And the device is also compatible with Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Now on to the included software, and if you've seen my keyboard reviews before, you know how I typically feel about this software, but I think the software is, at least in this case, fairly representative of the hardware, in that it's pretty well refined. Yeah, it's not as flashy or as polished as maybe some first-party vendors out there, but overall it gets the job done and gives you a ton of options. It is far more in-depth than I was expecting. The dynamic profile switching is a nice little feature. You can essentially set different profiles. That's the lighting effects, the macros, the batch files. Anything you want to set about the keyboard is saved onto a profile, and you can have that profile dynamically change depending on what program you have open. So you can have an Adobe Premiere profile, an Adobe After Effects profile, a Google Chrome profile, and then even a Spotify profile. And it will change the keyboard layouts, macros, and remappings based on the program you happen to be interacting with. We've seen this on the Logitech Options software as well, that I use essentially every time I edit a video. It's not quite as seamless as that, but still a great implementation. Of course, you have your individual key customizations. You can disable keys altogether, overwrite them with different keystrokes, set macros, set mouse functions, change them to multimedia functions or Windows shortcuts, or even launch a program with just the press of a key. This is also where you're going to modify that Genius knob and what the functions do. So we have, again, forward and backward or pressing it in. You can set that to be any of the customizations we already mentioned with the keystroke customizations. And not only that, but you have 3 layers to it. And the layers are essentially profiles within profiles. It's a profile specific to the Genius knob. So you could have one layer that controls your multimedia, another layer that's for a specific program, or even one program across all 3, but maybe depending on what you're doing, you can set layers and have them control different aspects. And if you need help keeping track of that, you can have the Power Control Assistant up on the display at all times to help you along. And then we have the Rady RGB, which is some of the most robust color customization I've seen on a keyboard. You have 10 effects to choose from, and within those effects you have additional settings such as brightness, speed, direction, depending on the type of effect that it is. But not only that, you can layer the effects, which is how I got this pretty cool customization you see here with blue keys being illuminated and this nice rainbow spectrum around the perimeter. That's a really cool little effect. It also allows for per key customization, and unlike other software where you have to click each individual key and set it to a color, this has presets. For example, WASD or the numbers or wherever you want it to be. There's several presets there, but if those don't really cut it for you, you can simply drag and drop to select several keys and pick a color. Having it for the first time here is really cool. It definitely saves a lot of time and makes me more likely to actually keep this software downloaded on my computer instead of just downloading it for the sake of doing a review and immediately getting rid of it, which is what I typically do. As I said, that's a long list of features, but how did it work for me? Well, let's start with the switches. The switches are extremely good. Now, they are not Cherry MX switches, but you easily could have fooled me, probably because they have the same required actuation pressure and travel distance and rated for roughly the same longevity. They really feel like Cherry MX clones. I personally like the design. It has a couple of quirks that are questionable to me. There's a plastic bit around the switches that hold the switch to the board itself, and for some reason, that little piece of plastic is white. I don't know why this couldn't have been a black plastic like they have on some of their own other keyboards. So it's a little bit distracting. Again, this is a very minor thing. I just don't know why they picked white instead of black so it would blend in a little bit better. And the RGB lighting was very tastefully integrated. Now, it has RGB lighting all over it. You could make it look like unicorn puke if you want, but of course the customization software allows you to easily set a very specific color combination if you want it to match the rest of your unique setup. That Genius knob was actually useful. Now, I use the Logitech MX Master 2S, which gives a lot of extra gesture controls, but if I didn't have that, I would definitely use that knob more frequently. If anything, I actually want to see more functionality, such as a long press or maybe a triple click. That would be pretty neat, because currently having only 3 settings, that's forward, backward, and in, I don't think is enough to really get the full functionality out of it. However, I can see someone just going absolutely crazy with setting a profile for every program, all their most popular programs and games, and really just going nuts with the software. And that's really what it's meant for, to increase your productivity, to increasing your edge in game, and also saving you time and giving you options to make it work for you. It did take a little bit of getting used to. It doesn't turn as easily as you'd expect, especially since you can only really get one finger on it. That's a little bit hard to get used to, but not a huge deal. It is decently comfortable. It will lay relatively flat, but even in its most flat setting, it's still kind of at an awkward angle, and the keys are up higher than I think what you might be used to. So I definitely recommend using a wrist rest if you're going to be using it for any length of time. And there's even rubberized feet that pop up and increase that angle even more so. Now, if you do choose to do it that way, I didn't find that particularly comfortable, but there is a really big benefit to doing that, and that you can actually get 2 fingers around that knob, and it makes it much more practical to use. While the Genius knob is definitely the most distinctive feature of the BladeMaster, I think it's a terrific buy even without it. The sub $100 price point, though, is the most compelling reason I can think of to purchase this over some of the competition out there. And their competition is fierce in this price segment, but I think this is definitely a viable option. If you are actually looking for something a little bit more premium, Drevo also sells a Pro version for $150. The Pro model has a gunmetal finish, Cherry MX switches, and low latency wireless connectivity. However, we're still awaiting word to hear if there's ever going to be a white version, which I would definitely love to check out. Well, thanks for checking out this video, guys. If you appreciated it and or found it helpful or insightful, then please go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to see other reviews that we conduct in the future, then please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you know when our new content is ready to watch. If this keyboard didn't quite do it for you, then check out some of our other videos here. If you want to buy it, check it out in our links in the video description. Purchase it on Amazon, use our affiliate link. We definitely appreciate it. And enter our giveaways. We have an awesome giveaway coming at the end of this month to celebrate hitting 10,000 subscribers, which should happen pretty soon. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we will catch you in the next one.